Welcome back, GPS to God. We are so glad all of you are here. We've got JC. JC was keeping count with how many times he's on.
Oh, I've been enough now. I've kind of lost track. This
there
is
you
good.
go. That's what we want. JC Swafford, Ryan Gotro, Adam Howard, Daniel Sanders. And today we have a very special guest with us. First time we've had an author on.
Yeah.
We have Miss K.L. Gilchrist with us today. She is a Christian fiction author. If you didn't know such a thing exists, we're going to get into it and let you know that it does exist. But K.L., thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
We are excited. Make sure you go check out our website, gpstogod.com. You can email us, mailroom@gpstogod.com. Find us on Instagram, all that cool kind of stuff. You know that. You can also find KL on Facebook. On Instagram, you can go to klgilchrist.com. Check her out as well. But KL, can you just tell us a little bit about you? Who is KL Gilchrist?
Okay, right now, KL Gilchrist is very, very nervous. I have to put that out there.
Oh, there's no reason to be nervous here. You're probably... You are the best looking person on the podcast.
Amen.
You're probably the smartest. You smell the best, all that kind of stuff.
Listen, I have been listening to you guys' episodes, and I'm thinking, wow, man, they had comedians and football players
and now we're stepping our game up to get you.
People started missions and running churches, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I write entertainment. I am not.
We are all about the entertainment.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up? Let's start there. Where did you grow up?
Sure. I grew up in central Pennsylvania. I grew up in Harrisburg, PA. Graduated and came to Philadelphia. Graduated from high school, came to Philadelphia. I've been here ever since. So I live right outside of Philly. And I have always wanted to be an author. Always knew that I was going to write. I was that nerdy kid who just loved being in the library, loved reading. My dad gave me a public library card, and I think that was like the best gift I had ever gotten. So I've always wanted to write. Wasn't sure exactly what I was going to write when I was young, and thought, well, at some point I'll write novels, but I didn't know when. Sometime around like my early 20s, I started publishing short stories. And still didn't get an idea for books, but interesting thing happened around when I was 23, is when I met the Lord, gave my life to the Lord. And I had thought, oh, wow, I'm gonna, instantly God's gonna give me ideas for books to write. And this is just really gonna go. I'm gonna write these great novels, and it's gonna have people, Christian characters and whatnot. And it's gonna be amazing. That didn't happen. It was like a good 20 years maybe before I got an idea. Okay, well, I'm gonna, write my first novel, and I'm really gonna do it. So I didn't start until I was 40 years old, actually, publishing. And at first I thought, how sometimes you think, well, you have an idea for what you're gonna do for your career, and you figure God is giving you that idea, so you're gonna get a great you're just going to get a great reception from all publishers and put things out. And I prayed, and everything was going to be wonderful. Fasted, everything was going to be wonderful. No, that did not happen. And I thought, Lord, I know that you want me to use your talent. Everybody who gets a talent, you're not supposed to bury it under a bushel. You're supposed to use that talent. So I thought to myself, okay, well, Lord, I'm going to write books now. I'm going to put them out. I'm going to try to get a publisher, and the publishers are rejecting me.
Wow.
Yeah.
What do I do? I literally went like on my knees to the Lord and said, well, what do you want me to do? Jesus once cursed a fig tree because it didn't bear fruit. So what do you want me to do? And he was like, well, I think you should, go ahead and put it out there and let the world have it, and I'll be with you every step of the way. And so that's what I did. And I started self-publishing. And I saw ever since I kind of have a message. Every time I get, I actually have a chance to talk in front of the audience, I say, even if your dreams don't necessarily look the way that you expected, it doesn't necessarily mean that God is telling you to stop. Sometimes he wants to see, are you going to do exactly what he wanted you to do, regardless of whether or not um, the journey looks the way you expected.
Man, that's a quote right there.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to put that on the wall somewhere. That's a poster.
That's better than a T-shirt.
Yeah. We got a whole poster on that one.
You gotta bear fruit. Gotta bear fruit. That's what we're told to do. So
you said
I am now seven products and five hardcover books and 2 ebooks, and I show no sign of stopping. Actually, God has been giving me some ideas for some screenplays, because we now know that more people watch streaming services now than they do walk into a bookstore and grab books. So I've been getting some ideas for other things that I want to do, either write Netflix movies or things like that.
if you need an extra, I'm in. I'm there. I'll be
Yeah,
and I work for cheap. I work for cheap.
Don't throw that out there, and then you got me emailing you, tracking you down.
you have my email address already. Let's get my cell number is in one of those emails, I'm sure. So, but we're gonna come back to maybe some deeper questions that are a little harder. But
Okay.
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, that's where you were born. I spent a couple weeks in Harrisburg.
No way.
And there was a hole in the wall restaurant called the Nido Burrito. And they sold like 3-pound burritos. Best place I've ever had a burrito my entire life. I don't know if it's still in business. It may have only been there for those 2 weeks, but that was a great 2 weeks.
You probably ate all their food in that 3-pound burrito.
I mean, I paid what they asked, but it was worth every penny. Yeah, that's my Harrisburg story. That's all I got.
I've been through Harrisburg about 4 times, traveling through for work, and 3 Mile Island. If you remember that from this is from my childhood, so you guys won't know this, but
saw it in the history.
Yeah, that's right.
History. We actually got in a car and we ran from that. I remember that.
Yeah.
I was a little girl. That's showing my age. But went through my island, almost had that meltdown.
Yeah.
What year was that?
It had been 79, maybe, somewhere right in the late 70s. And as a kid, like you said, it just scares you because you didn't know anything about that, or everybody's like a nuclear meltdown or whatever. But luckily, it didn't turn out too bad. But yeah, I've been through there. It's a beautiful part of the country. A big Amish area, not too far from there as well. And Pennsylvania is a pretty cool state. I've enjoyed visiting there.
I mean, you got Gettysburg, you got the Liberty Bell, you've got Hershey's. What else do you need? That's it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Fresh Prince.
That's right.
Right.
Fresh Prince.
Got it all. So you said you came to know Christ at 23.
Yeah.
Was there an event or something that pushed you into that, or how did you come to that conversion?
Oh, well, it's a good question. What's really interesting is that when I was young, I always felt like I always wanted to know God more. I was that person that I never thought that there wasn't a God. I just didn't know how to get close to him. And I didn't have a family that was witnessing to me, or anybody that was close to me that was close enough to show me how to get to the Lord. And when I turned 23, I went to Temple University, graduated from Temple, and I went through this time period where it seemed like all of my friends were leaving. I had friends that were getting married, starting families, going off to graduate school, just leaving the Philadelphia area. And I felt very, very alone. And I worked at Temple Law School at the time, and I had a coworker who would start to talk to me and say, well, listen, come to my church. I went to go visit the church, and I sat in the back, and this is how you know that you don't pay a lot of attention to what goes on at church. But when you're unchurched, I sat in the back, and I didn't even really think about any what you do at church or anything. I just remember sitting back there, and I remember eating from this pack of M&Ms that I had brought with me, and sitting literally in the back pew, just kind of listening. There's something about what the pastor said stuck with me about the Lord, and about how he could be calling you, and how he'll never leave you or forsake you, and everything. And I don't know. after a couple of times of visiting the church, I just kind of went back to my apartment one Sunday and just kind of sat there and was like, okay, well, Lord, I think you're drawing me, and I think I want to come, and Lord, I want you to be Lord of my life, and I'll follow you. And I think I know my whole life changed from that point. One thing I would say is I never felt alone again. And even though life's had its ups and downs, I have never felt like I've been totally alone. Yeah. I'll fast forward, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I'll fast forward. When the pandemic started, I lost a large amount of people from my life, or maybe way too many that I want. My father-in-law passed away. Not everybody died because of pandemic, but during that time period, a lot of people died. Yeah. So I had a lot of grief. My father-in-law, my aunt who helped raise me, she was one of the main people that was very, very close to me when I was living in Harrisburg. My daughter passed away. Just a lot of folk in a close period of time. But I've never felt like God wasn't there with me. And even though I've been riding waves of grief ever since then, I still feel like I'm never alone.
I'm always amazed at how God speaks in a wide variety of situations, right?
Yeah.
A large tragedy happens. Sometimes we justify and say, well, that's easy because you had that big, huge thing. But how he speaks, just whisper to you when you're alone in your apartment and nothing else is going on. Mm-hmm. And it's like almost like he's screaming at you. It's just right there, so vivid in your life. So
I do have a question for you. So you were saying you were saved at 23 and you were doing short stories and everything before that. Do you have anything that happened before you were saved that maybe you regret doing as far as stories, or how drastic of a change was your writing from before to after?
Oh yeah, it was a really drastic change. When the short stories that I was writing, they were very easy for me to write and get published. But these were like true confession stories, so there's a very much romance story.
Yeah.
So from the time I got saved, I just stopped.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get into some of your writing, but I remember as a kid growing up in the 80s, I had a single mom, and she always had a Danielle Steele book.
Okay.
On the table and stuff. And I'm like, who is this Danielle Steele person? Like, that's all I ever saw. That was the only author. Danielle Steele, Dr. Seuss. I could name those two authors. That was it.
There it is.
That's all I had.
I did see, you mentioned that your Facebook page that you have, you talked about taking a little break recently because of some grief that you'd gone through. And, I think everybody goes through that, obviously. What was not necessarily maybe details, but how did God get you kind of through that stage in your little break you took here recently?
Social media in general, it causes you to have to respond to everything. It's like when you put things out there, everything you put out there, you have to respond back and everything. And what had been happening was I was spending so much time there monitoring things, looking at things prior to the end of last year, that I was like, the only way I'm going to really hear from God for his direction for anything in future is I pull back for a little bit, and all I'm really doing is doing more prayer, more Bible reading in the morning. So my devotional times in the morning got a lot longer, and I just kind of during the day, I would spend less time looking at my phone and more time looking at his word and just hearing him speak to me a lot. And I started getting into I don't know if this is good or not, letting YouTube kind of play. YouTube has these wonderful people who put on like 7-8 hour long like piano worship songs, and they'll talk scripture like with the worship songs and everything, and just listen to that. Just hear the word spoken to me, and walking with God, listening to his word helped me to stop feeling the hard parts of grief, if that makes sense, to stop concentrating on the pain and concentrate on walking with him.
Social media is like fake reality with a sprinkle of truth, right? It's easy to get lost in that, and you're living for a digital life instead of living a real life almost. Yeah. And I mean, even, you wake up, first thing you do, grab your phone and start scrolling through social media or the sports scores and it's just a lot of people say, that's their first thought. Well, they wake up, where's my phone? Grab my phone. And I mean, it takes the place of so many real things. It takes the place of God, the time we spend with God. And
Jesus many a times just got away from everybody, when he was ready to pray or contemplate or just whatever, he went away. And everybody, you knew he was ready to talk to God.
Yeah. So, excuse me, sorry. So
we'll cut that out. It's all right.
I appreciate that.
Why?
Why?
No, I'm just kidding.
So you said at the age of 23 you met the Lord and you kind of went through with the Lord, but you didn't write your first book until an undetermined age that we won't talk about.
Undetermined age is not talking. There you go.
So she said it. The audio just cut out.
Yeah, I didn't hear it.
There was a glitch in that. I heard it.
I didn't hear it. So my question is with it being so hard on you to come up with what to write because you wanted to write for the Lord, did you ever have that spiritual battle between yourself of just going back to the easy way of what you knew worked?
No, believe it or not, no. Because I always thought, if I can't put my spiritual self out there, if I have to put something out there, like a lot of writers will use like a pseudonym or something and say, okay, well, just go ahead and make money. But I was like, no, if I'm going to use, I believe my time is God's time. And if I'm going to use my time and my talent, I don't want to put anything out there that I'm not proud to say that, yes, I wrote that. And yes, I am a Christian. So I never was, I was. Like,
well, I respect you a lot for that. So
yeah, it's harder. I think it's harder to write faith-based because it's easier to be wild and woolly. It's easier to in my opinion. Now somebody could say, oh, but maybe not, but no, I would think so. When you have no restraint, you can write whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that right now, especially now, we have a lot of content out there that's just whatever. But how are we better for it? Mm-hmm. How is our country better for it? How are people better for it? I don't think that we are.
Which goes right back into your social media break, right? When you log on to social media, you have all of that out there that's easy to access. What is not easy to access is the Word of God. Yes. It is for us to access it from the Bible and things, but in terms of like social media or whatever, it's not out there in front of your face to just open Facebook and say, here's 10 articles about God. It's usually got 10 articles about stuff that you don't really benefit from reading. So
right.
I can understand that completely.
But talking about Christian writing, I mean, the book we base our faith off of, the Bible, is full of sex and war and all kinds of crazy stuff, right? That is straight from the Word of God, from somebody inspired by God to write, or from Jesus himself. So, so I think we can have exciting stories based in real events that happen in the world that are still faith-based. But I'm not the one trying to write it down either. So writer's block. How do you come up with ideas? Do you face you've talked about some of the struggle already, but do you try and, continue one story to the next, like a series, or do you try and do different things all the time, or it's just however you happen to be inspired?
Believe it or not, I don't necessarily believe in writer's block per se. A lot of writer's block, when anybody talks about writer's block, it usually has to do with they have an idea, but they haven't fleshed it out enough. They haven't spent enough time with the characters to know how the characters would handle things. They might have like a situation, but they don't know enough about the character they want to write about to know how that person would do anything. So let's say they have like character, we'll call him Mike or whatever. And I'll say, okay, Mike has lost his family in the car crash. What is Mike going to do? But if they don't know much about Mike, like they don't know if Mike is a believer or not, if they'll stop right there. and they'll say, okay, well, I'm not sure what so that's writer's block. To when I know who my characters are, I can pretty much tell where they're going to go. My characters who have faith and my characters who don't, they'll react to things in different ways. And I'm like going off on tangents. So stop me if
no, keep it going.
I'm not answering the question.
You fit right in this show. We're all about going off on tangents.
It took me a long time to get my first idea, but now it's like I now have so many ideas. I'll say if it's like a little fish, I'll throw it back in the water. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this. Nah, that sounds crazy. I'm not going to do that idea. Or, and characters come to me more than anything else now. Like I have an idea for like my first thriller, I wouldn't call it horror because I don't think, faith and horror go together. More like thriller, like surprises that people, like little twists. A story that kind of has a twist in it that has like a mega church pastor and some other stuff going on. And it's actually going to be based in Texas. And that much I knew, like these ideas will come to me, like take somebody from the East Coast, put them in Texas and have them go to a mega church where the people aren't quite what they seem. And now I'm giving ideas away.
I was going to say, don't say too much. Don't say, you are helping somebody with writer's block right now.
How long does it take you to write a book?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. It can take me like like 2 seasons, I would say, to write a rough draft. But after those 2 seasons are over, it might take me like a full year to get it to what I would call like ready for an actual reader to look at. So that first set of ideas it's not really it's not reader ready. Right. It takes like a full year for it to get reader ready. So even this thriller, I have like the basic part of it written, the very first part of it, but I know it'll take like a full year to bring it around.
So if you come up with an idea and you get your first draft, you send that to a publisher or somebody, how much do they change it typically? What's the revision process when you send it out to somebody else?
Okay, well, send it out to a publisher usually for me, my experience has been they've been, thank you. No, we're not going to publish it. But if I just have an editor look at it, what they'll do is they'll give me notes and they'll tell me what it seems like it's not working about the story. And also I have like what I would call beta readers. They're people who get my book before anybody else's, and this is just regular folk, and it's not people in the business. People who would look to buy books would tell me, they'll say they'll read for me, and they'll read it, and they'll give me like a just like notes like on anything you get on it's their opinions,
a friendly critique.
Yeah. And they'll say, well, I like this scene, or I didn't like this scene, or a character didn't work for them. And what I'll do is I'll listen to, like, if I hear more than 3 people say that a certain character didn't work for them or a certain scene didn't work, then it's automatically deleted or it's changed, because it's like a change. Yeah. But the hardest thing is getting feedback from people who say that they really like it, because that doesn't give you much to go on. Yeah. It's like, okay, you liked it. Okay, what'd you like?
That's a tough process, putting yourself out there for that criticism or the critiques or whatever the term you want to use is. But you got to, I feel like I have to talk a little fancy tonight because we have an author, a wordsmith.
No, but non-fancy is fine. Non-fancy works.
But I mean, that is opening yourself up to criticism and a critique, and for something that you have worked a year or more on, that's kind of tough.
So during that time of you writing, is there like an actual schedule, like your day in, day out? Like, are you scheduling certain time throughout the day to actually sit down and write? Or is it just as something pops up, you're just stopping and jotting it down kind of thing?
So I want to add on to that. Is writing your full-time job?
No.
Okay. So that makes, that leans
that
more weight
answers
to
a lot
your
more,
question.
You have even smaller time frames of actually being able to sit down and write.
Yeah. I kind of tell myself I do all types of writing related type things. Meaning, I also have I run a small business where I do editing and I do book coaching for other people, and so I work on other people's books, which is gives me a great way of like taking my uh, background and edit and writing and editing and applying it to other people. So I do that. But yes, back to your question, I regularly have like a 3 or 4 hour clip, um, Monday through Saturday, where all I'm doing is working on writing.
Okay.
So today I was working on a screenplay. So the first part of the morning is just that, and it's every day I'm looking at something different until I'm like actually writing the whole thing through. So today was just all about characters, my web of characters that will make up the story. And writers get, to get through a book or even to get through a screenplay, we get really analytical. We start looking at stuff like in ways that you probably don't think that we do. We look at, okay, who's our hero? Okay, my hero is Calvin, and who's his, opponent? Oh, his opponent is DJ, and who's the love interest, and what's their archetype? Are they a nurturer? Are they a femme fatale? Are they a mystery person? And what's Calvin's, background? He's a businessman. Why does he want to be a businessman? What happened to his family? You start going deeper and deeper and deeper. And everything I know about the character has to drive the narrative forward. So once I have those characters, and it takes a while to get them in, I start going at it scene by scene. And usually a rough draft is like a scene per day. But mind you, I already know the characters, so I can write that fast once I get to that point. The hardest part is the very beginning, the character, the general premise, the characters, and then the conflict. And then I start with, okay, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4. Average movie that you would see would be like 10 scenes at the beginning, 20 in the middle, 10 at the end. Average book, same thing, but with books you can write longer, so scenes might take me a little bit longer. So a couple hours and just work on different pieces each day, except for Sunday, which is always a Sabbath rest for me.
And kind of building on that, what if someone's listening and they're like, I think I want to get into writing, or I notice you put on your blog or whatever, just write. I mean, just get out there, I guess, and do it. But what kind of, instruction or advice would you give somebody who really wanted to maybe get into writing?
I would say if they really wanted to do it, I would say follow your passion, set a schedule, and really, sit there. Everything I said in the blog, sit down and really start writing. But the other thing is, I'd say know that writing doesn't necessarily it's hard to do. It's not. Every day I look at Lord and I say, Lord, I could have been. I think it would have been easier to be an accountant. It would have been easier to be almost anything else than this. It's tough getting inside of characters' heads and making them do things, and then sometimes it doesn't seem like it's lucrative enough. So I would say number one, make sure you want to do it. And then when you want to do it, make sure you have a schedule, a 2 or 3 hour clip each day when you can work on just that with no distractions. And then, follow it all the way through to the end. Don't start one project and then start another project and then start another project. Get that project and work it all the way through to the end, no matter how you feel about it. Even if you think, oh, it's not going, finish it anyway. Finish it. And get eyes on it, see if it will work out. Even if it doesn't, trust me, if it's faith-based and it has a decent message to it, I would say that for all my faith-based people out there, it's going to resonate with someone. It's art, though. Don't expect it to resonate with everyone. I've heard people say to me, oh, I wouldn't read that. It's Christian, it's too corny. That's fine. Everything's not for everybody.
What exactly is a book coach?
Book coach is just somebody who takes someone who's starting to do writing, and they know they have a writing project, but they aren't sure of the steps involved, and like they may have little pieces of writing and they want to pull them together into a book. And so what they'll do is sit with me and they'll say, okay, this is what I have. What can I make out of this? So this is the type of book that I want to do. And I'll say, okay, well, this is the type of writing that you have. This could be a devotional for one client. Another client may come to me and theirs is looking more like a how-to. Okay, just want to make it a how-to. Some people have small bits of, okay, well, small bits of pieces. If you want to put this together and try to make this like a journal, put pieces on top of the pages and make this like a journal. And this is how it can be structured. And this is how you can distribute it. But it's really just consulting, like you would do for anything else. Like if you had a house and you weren't quite sure what you wanted to put in it, you might consult with like an interior designer. Same thing with a book. If you're not necessarily in the world of writing, but you have a book in you and you're not quite sure how to get together, you talk to a book coach and they would tell you, okay, this is what you've got and this is how you can get to a final product.
That's a great answer. I mean, I didn't know the answer, but that's a great answer.
JC, there's your answer. How somebody can get into writing books.
Get a book coach.
Get a book coach.
Get a book coach. Get a book coach. Yeah.
Have you changed the way you write or your process over time? I was listening to some comedians actually the other day say that when they write jokes, some of them practice like a free flow writing where they just sit down and they write, I'm in a blue chair and the carpet's brown, and they just start writing their thoughts, and that gets them into a place where jokes come from for them. Have you done different types of writing, or has it always been the same for you?
No, I've done different types. That type that you just talked about there with comedians, yeah, I've done that too. And that makes the most creative scenes that I've ever done before. Just for some reason, I can only do that style of writing like very early in the morning, like with a cup of coffee and just come into my office and just start writing stuff. But that is the best way of doing it. Other times, yeah, it's just completely structured. I know what I'm going to go in and write that day. I know who I'm going to write about. And I just kind of go at it from okay, I know what my scene is supposed to be. So I'm going to write it in that way. So different ways. It depends. But that free writing way, that gets me into the most creative area I can be in.
One of the questions I had for you was, like, say in the business world, a lot of people talk about networking and like, I always got to meet the next person so I have that relationship so maybe I can move forward in my career. Is there a lot of networking with authors and doing that kind of?
It's actually very recommended because I'm independent. I don't have I should do it more, but I don't look at it as a way, because I think most of what I'm doing is more of an independent providing entertainment for faith-based people type of thing. It's not I'm trying to build a career like Stephen King type of thing. It could turn into that if the Lord leads me.
Yeah.
But that's not where I am right now.
I was going to ask about your speaking career. What kind of speaking do you like to do and enjoy doing? Currently,
it's just like anything that I would talk about with writing. For example, if a women's conference needs a speaker and I wanted to talk about how someone could, if they had a passion for writing, how they could start, I could talk about that. Or I talk about, lately I've been talking on different podcasts about grief. That's a hard topic, but God really brought me through and is still bringing me through. And so I'll talk about that. But mostly writing. I would love to talk to audiences about writing books, publishing, anything like that.
So if you don't mind, we'll touch on grief a little bit. I know you talked about during the pandemic losing several family members, including a daughter. What are some of the things that you did to kind of get through that hard time?
I say a lot of prayer and a lot of just trusting God. It put me into a place where it made my faith very, very real. And understanding that the Lord never told us that everything was going to be great all the time, and told us that we were to expect that suffering is a part of life. And so when it hit me, the first thing I had to do was trust God in a deeper way And I have been trusting him that way ever since, in a way that that says I don't do anything without trusting God. Well, I don't do anything without prayer.
I was going to ask too, out of the books you've written, do you have a favorite one, and why would that be if you did?
I have a favorite. That's a good one. Yeah, I think Engaged is my favorite. Engaged is my favorite because I never got a chance before or I never let my comedic voice show. And Engaged let me be funny, because I had a young 20-something character, and we meet her, she's running from a drone, which turns out to be a proposal, but she has some PSTD issues, and she sees a drone coming at her, and it starts out with a little bit of hijinks. So that's my favorite. And I don't know, it's not a love story per se. It deals with people getting married, but it's more of seeing people embrace what marriage really is, what commitment is supposed to be. I mean, there's this Instagram idea of I love you and wedding dresses and commitment, and then there's the real commitment to a spouse for forever. And that's what that character has to deal with. So I like seeing the trajectory of how she accepts that, Lord, she's going to be married to this man for the rest of her life, and she has to support him through good and bad, and no matter what, rich, poor. I kind of take them through all of those kind of scenarios, and I love that one the most because I like to laugh. I like to make other people laugh when I can. So yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, the Instagram picture of marriage is, kind of like you said, wedding dresses and tablecloth and, the home living, fine living meal laid out and stuff. And then the reality side is like you walk in, they're sick. Everybody in the house is sick, and there's a pile of dirty Kleenex on the table and all this. It's like, they don't show this part. This is.
Do you still love me?
Hey, let's not get personal in here, Ryan.
That has never happened.
But yeah, Instagram versus reality is a real thing.
Yeah. So you said you had ebooks. Have you ever done an audio book where someone read for you, like read the book, so where people could just buy the audio?
Actually, no, but I would love to. I would love to. I've looked at some things for audiobooks. I've had people tell me, well, you should read, I'm like, where am I going to get time to read and write at the same time? I would love to hire actors and actresses to be able to
Well, that's my second part. If you got to pick who it was, who would you pick?
Oh my goodness. That's a great question. No, for real, honestly, that's a great question. I have to think about that. Like if God gave me anyone, I really have to think about that. I'm not sure, but I would love to do an audiobook at any time. Yeah.
Ryan is asking because he doesn't read and he wants to listen to your books.
But no, he's onto something. Let me tell you, audiobooks are big because people don't get the time to read like they used to. And even I don't read as much as I would like to. And I find myself listening more and more. But to do a very good audiobook production is hard to do for the same reason what you're doing with the podcast is hard. Imagine, with every reading of a chapter, then it has to go to editing. Then if there's any little glitches, it has to be redone. And I'm like, oh yeah, for 40, 45 chapters. I'm like, I don't, I'm like, do I have time to oversee that?
Yeah. It's a good one. He stumped her.
Yes.
I wasn't trying to stump her. Sorry about that.
That was fine. I was like, I'll have to really think about that. Who would I read? Who would I have read? I don't know.
We talked about taking a break from social media, but you are active on social media, on Facebook and others. And I saw on your Facebook where you do a Friday fun day or funny day. You want to talk about
Friday,
that?
A little Friday comic, a little Friday fun thing. You saw that.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I try to make a little kind of comic break thing.
So you do have a comedic voice. There's a comedian in there somewhere.
I do. I like being funny more than being I have serious books, but I do. If I could, I would love to I think at this point really write a comedy movie of some sort. I got an idea when I was at church. I thought that's where I get some of my best ideas. I got an idea for a movie. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but it's going to be based on a group of praying moms who, a woman who's going through.
Don't give too much away now.
Huh?
Don't give away too much.
I won't
Go back to writer's block.
But I wanted to call it like praying aunties or praying moms or something like that. But I wanted to be all comedic, not it's some little serious pieces, but I wanted to be all comedic. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie Mom's Night Out.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Well, my wife has seen it. I don't know that I watched it, but I was at the house.
He was sitting right there next to her.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That one was a good one. When I saw that, I thought, I wish I could write something like. I have to sit down and try to figure out a way to write something like that. But it's faith-based, but it's really funny.
I was going to ask one more. The book Broken Together, I saw where you kind of titled that about pouring grace and how important that is. Of course, everybody wants it when they mess up, but and you demand too much of it when you're offended. But was there something behind that made you kind of spend a whole book on pouring grace, or?
No, it just kind of came to me. That's my first one, and I wanted to write about something that a problem. Well, that one deals with adultery, so I wanted something that kind of dealt with a test in a woman's life, because again, no test, no testimony. So I wanted her to be able to grow through a situation, but not just like the woman scorned, to have to be the person that not only has to forgive, but be there for someone else. Again, showing that we go through stuff in this life. People go through things in this life. Everything is not all rosy, especially in some marriages, but it is possible. God gives us grace when he allows us, even choosing us to be with him.
Definitely.
And coming to our lives and forgiving us of our sins. And then sometimes we feel like, oh, I'll never forgive somebody. Listen, we're called to forgive people. Yeah. All books and movies do is allow you to see people walk these things out, in a fictional sense.
There's another poster. No testimony.
Yeah. That one, we can put that one on the t-shirt. Yeah. Almost every episode we have somebody says something. We're like, there's our next t-shirt. One day we're going to have some t-shirts, but
we should. Yes. Merchandise is everything now. Merchandise, everything. Get those t-shirts out there.
Brittany, where you at?
You better call her, not me.
KL, is there anything that we haven't hit on that you'd like to hit on? Or
I want to say, to anyone who has a dream of doing anything creative, be it a television show or a movie or a book or a web series or anything like that, and they're Christian and they're feeling like, it's getting a little tough out here for us, to find the strength and ask the Lord for the strength to be able to get their dream out there. Don't let it die. We're Christian folk, but we like to watch things too. We like entertainment too, and we need things that are. I used to use this term, clean entertainment, but then somebody challenged me and said, well, what does that mean? Does that mean every other type of entertainment is dirty? I was like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't use that term. Right. But what I would say is, who you are as faith-based folks. You're not going to look at everything. Yeah. And you need to, if you're creative, you need to get your stuff out there, because you will have an audience. You will have people who want to read your book or watch a web series or watch a movie. So don't get discouraged. Get it out. Bear fruit. because you were called to.
That's very good. Well, KL, we end every episode with a Bible verse, and you talked about forgiveness. Mm-hmm. This is from Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you. So,
amen.
Yeah. She's preaching to us. So there it is, right there from God's word. But KL, thank you so much for coming on, and this was great. We had a fun time. Make sure you check her out, Instagram, Facebook. Check out her website. And also, check out a movie she's going to write soon, and I'll be in it somewhere. Probably not the lead, but you'll see me. I'll have a line.
Now, wait, everybody. He said it. So when I call and say, hi, we're filming in Philly right now.
Hey, I'll be there. I'll be there. That'd be great. But thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit, telling your story, and just taking some time out.
Thanks so much for having me.
It was a blast.
Enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it immensely. Yeah. Make sure you check out her book. She has lots of books, lots of short stories that you can go check out. Just get on the old Google machine and you will find it. And is there a preferred method for where people can get your books?
I would say I drive everybody to my website, www.klgilchrist, and I like to spell that by GIL Christ.com. And I'll say an interesting thing about my last name. I am married, but I use my given name is Gilchrist. So I kept that for my author name because that name actually does mean helper of the Lord.
Wow. I love that.
The meaning, yeah.
And that's what you're doing.
Don't be ashamed about spelling your name like that, because that's how I remembered it when I was sending emails and texts to these guys about different stuff. That's how I remembered to spell your last name correctly. So, there you go. Yeah. It works even on people like me, non-authors and such. But thank you so much for coming on. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you all for listening. You know it. God loves you. We love you more. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to GPS to God. Make sure you leave a rating or review on whichever app you happen to use. Also find us on YouTube and be sure to subscribe to our channel.